What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and this is Road Signs. And guys, if the last video proved nothing else, it's that you guys are consistent. You guys always seem to love when I rant, and it's good to know. Shit like that doesn't always come up. You know, Cena Apocalypse, the whole, Rock Cena shit a couple years ago. The original, actually, the coined YWC Reality Check phrase came from one of my rants. So I guess it serves a purpose, and it is, in fact, why do you do that? I guess it serves a purpose, and it is, in fact, a thing, but keep them few and far between, and try to enjoy the wrestling as much as humanly possible. Let's talk about WrestleMania. WrestleMania, a lot of things have happened this week leading up into WrestleMania, and I'm not talking about what everybody's talking about. Obviously, Spaz Phoenix, he has to be different because he's like that. But, man, am I excited for WrestleMania. Like, it's not showing right now, guys, because usually, as usual, I'm doing this video at ridiculous o'clock, so you get me like this, a little subdued, a little starting to lose my voice. I have been sick the past couple of days as well. Not that any of you really give a damn about that, but it'll, hopefully, excuse my lack of exuberance. Yes, I did some word things there. Let's talk about the mid-card for a second, because we all know WrestleMania is focused on the main event, but let's talk about the mid-card for a second. We might be getting Sheamus versus Christian, and I don't give a damn. Like, I don't give a good goddamn about this match. Christian, I should say, he's my boy, he's from Toronto, he partnered with Edge, I followed them for years. I don't believe that Christian is going to achieve anything monumental between now and the end of his career, and that's sad, but it also is, the reality that we're living in, is it not? Sheamus is garbage in every sense of the word. He is a downplayed, less hyped, stereotypical Irish version of John Cena, and that's just not going to do us anything. He doesn't sell like John Cena. He doesn't have any ring psychology like Cena. He sits there, thinks he's funny, and he's not like John Cena, and it doesn't make for a very good match at all. There's no purpose to us, and there's no stakes in this match. At least if it was a stipulation, if it was a Belfast brawl, or if it was a ladder match, leaning more to Christian's cup of tea or something along those lines, I'd have a mild interest. Maybe put it on the pre-show, that would be all right. But there's no reason to have it. There's no reason to rehash this rivalry that we've seen before. I don't care. Sheamus versus Christian will be my piss break if it happens at WrestleMania. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm being completely honest. It won't be the Divas match, unless some other rumors are true that I'll get to in a second. It will be this match. And that's it. Ziggler versus Del Rio. We're pushing this one again, too, which I don't mind whatsoever, because I love Ziggler. He sells for everybody. I love Alberto Del Rio. He's a great, arrogant heel. He doesn't... As a ring worker, he doesn't get the credit he deserves either, but Ziggler will bump for anybody, so Del Rio could be a broomstick and still look great. Again, same problem as the other match, though. There's no reason for this match to happen other than the fact that these guys have nothing else to do. There's no title at stake. There's no, hey, the winner of this is going to be the next contender for da-da-da-da-da, whatever title. It's just happening for the sake of happening. Again, this is another one that could really, really benefit from a stipulation if we're going to do that. An Iron Man match, a submission match. Ziggler's got his chokehold and Del Rio's got the cross arm breaker. They could have a great submission match, and that would at least be something they could build. In the next couple weeks on Raw and SmackDown, they could really perfect both of their submission moves and say, I'm going to make you tap. I'm going to make you tap. Have not necessarily an Angle Benoit scenario, but something similar to that. And at least it's for submission pride or something along those lines. I don't mind seeing these guys in the ring whatsoever. If it's part of the card, it will be an okay part of the card. I'll enjoy it. Like I say, Ziggler will probably go over because Del Rio's, doing nothing right now. It won't hurt my feelings if it's on the card, but there's no real reason for it to be there. How about that? How about the fact that WWE is repeating themselves quite a bit? We have potentially 5, and these are all shit that, I've either heard about, heard through the grapevine, heard on Twitter, heard on Facebook, heard on, No DQ or WrestleZone or something. Rumored matches that could be happening. And they are all, every single one of them, based on a team breaking up. The members of, what the hell was their name even? Tons of Funk. Yes, this is actually a rumor. This is actually a thing. Tons of Funk, Brodus Clay, and Tensai could have a match at WrestleMania. I've heard this. we could get a rematch of the primetime players, Darren Young and Titus O'Neil, at WrestleMania. Neither one of those are very likely because who the hell cares? Goldust versus Cody Rhodes has been the rumor for a long-ass time, but there hasn't even been the slightest bit of dissension, and there's like 3 weeks left until WrestleMania, so are they going to make these guys hate each other in 3 weeks? I doubt it. Cesaro and Swagger, hell yes, could be a hell of a team. Could be a hell of a match, rather. They're both fantastic athletes. As you guys know, as I've said multiple times in this season of Road Signs, I do not care for Jack Swagger, but what he brings to the ring can't be denied, and Cesaro is a fucking beast, let's be honest. For reasons that I'm going to mention later, that match probably isn't going to happen either. The one that we know for sure is going to happen is the Shield, and that's the match that everybody wants to see. But with all these other rumors, you run the risk of the audience almost getting sick of the broken up team story. Like, if you saw Goldust versus Rhodes, and then you saw Cesaro versus Swagger, and then you saw the Shield versus various members of itself, you'd get tired of the story by the end of WrestleMania, and that doesn't do Cody Rhodes, Goldust, Jack Swagger, Cesaro, Rollins, Reigns, or Ambrose any good. Each match would take away from the other. So I'm glad we're getting the Shield thing, for sure. Something is going to happen there. I just hope, for that reason, that we stick away from these other storylines, even though these are other storylines that people want to see come to fruition. I mean, hell, you could have Swagger and Cesaro at Extreme Rules. Have those two guys in a last man standing match or an I Quit match, and there's money made in the mid-card of Extreme Rules already. But yeah, out of all these breakup storylines, the Shield is the one that's the most intriguing. Again, the Shield, let's be honest, is the one that's going to happen. And good, because we don't want to get tired of that story before we get to the Shield breaking up, because that is what we've been playing towards for how many months now? It's going to be good. It's going to be awesome. Roman Reigns is going to destroy everybody. This is my opinion. I'm not necessarily saying that Roman Reigns is the one that I want to see get pushed. Obviously, Ambrose or Rollins could both be phenomenal superstars, but with the push that they've put behind Reigns because he fits that WWE big guy mold, I'm very ready to believe that Roman Reigns is going to be the first one into the main event scene after the Shield breakup, and I'm okay with it. Roman Reigns, much like Cesaro, is a beast, and when he gets up into the main event scene, as long as he doesn't get hit by the Cena steamroller, he's going to be fantastic. Who are the Usos going to face at WrestleMania? Now, I said in my last video that the number one team, the team that makes the most sense, is the Wyatts, the team that's on the biggest roll, the team that could potentially help their leader later on in the night the most with the whole Cena thing, which I'm going to get to in a second, makes the most logical sense. And not only does it make the most logical sense, they're the only team left. Let's look at this. Who will the Usos face at WrestleMania? Is it going to be the New Age Outlaws? Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. It would be another rematch. Da-da-da-da-da. New Age Outlaws keep postponing their owed rematch, but now the rumors going around is that Road Dogg has a bad back or did something to his back at a house show or something along those lines, so that might not even be possible. Primetime players split up. The Real Americans split up and are apparently both in the Battle Royal that we're going to talk about in a moment. The Shield are about to split up. Tons of Funk split up. Big E and Mark Henry. Mark Henry, nobody knows what he's doing really other than getting his ass handed to him by Brock Lesnar week to week. And Big E is also in the Battle Royal, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. The Rhodes Brothers would be a fine match, but face versus face, who do you cheer, who do you boo, who really cares? And 3MB and Los Matadors, just no. No. Just no. The Wyatts are the only team you have left. And it's not even like, okay, we're going to do the best with what we have. The best is what you have left. Okay, let's talk about Hulk Hogan's big announcement from this past week's Raw. I still don't give a damn about Hulk Hogan being at WrestleMania 30. He's going to go out there, he's going to talk, he's going to do some comedic bits, he's going to, you know, do the pose, do the brother, say your vitamins and drink your prayers and all that bullshit. And James, my buddy James, Fear the Spear 1990, who everybody should check out, will be very, very happy. Now, a couple things at this Battle Royal. Okay, first of all, very, very cool for Hogan to come out and say, we're going to pay tribute to one of the greatest superstars in history, Andre the Giant. We're going to have the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Andre the Giant always owned in Battle Royals, so it makes sense. Andre the Giant was the other half of one of the biggest matches, if not the biggest match in WrestleMania history, you know, helping take the WWE to new heights, yada, yada, yada. The tribute to him, fantastic, if they do it properly and if they don't make a joke out of it. I have no problem with this being on WrestleMania whatsoever. But a couple things I want to point out. WrestleMania always has a big multi-person match. On the low end of things, you had Team Teddy versus Team Johnny. On the upper echelon side of things, you had the insurgents of Money in the Bank. Now, this match, being at WrestleMania, quashes any rumors that were ever out there about Money in the Bank coming back to WrestleMania where it belongs, which is kind of sad. So far, we know that Big E, which is lame, just saying, is in the... he is in this Battle Royal, this Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which indicates, it doesn't necessarily mean 100%, but it indicates that there's going to be no Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania, which really, really sucks. Another question I want to ask is, how are they going to fill this thing out? I mean, obviously, this is a device to get other people that have nothing to do around the WrestleMania season onto the WrestleMania card so that they can get their low-end guarantee, their WrestleMania paycheck, which is fine, and I very, very much support that. I don't think anybody should be left off the WrestleMania card. It can be helped, unless your name is, I don't know, Santino, Sheamus, Great Khali, just saying. But my problem is, or my question is, or my concern is, or my curiosity, however you want to put it, is how are they going to fill this thing out to 30 people when a lot of the people that made up the 30 men in the Royal Rumble have matches, like The Shield, like the Wyatts, hopefully, like the Usos, like John Cena, like, I don't know, anybody else you want to say. A lot of the main eventers that were in the Royal Rumble obviously are not going to be in this Battle Royal as well. So how are they going to fill it out? The cheesy thing to do would be to stick in a bunch of legends. And we'd stick in a bunch of legends that we always see anyway, like Piper and Slaughter and Snuka and maybe the Warrior for a couple of minutes, or maybe Jake the Snake because he's on his big return, or I would mark if they put Lita in this thing, I'm not going to lie, but it's probably not going to happen. I don't really want to see it though. Other than the possibility of Lita, obviously. But I don't want to see all the old guys come out and, like, muck up this Battle Royal. I don't want to see them hand the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal trophy over to Ric Flair or somebody dumb like that. What I would like to see is the absolute opposite. I would love to see them take this opportunity to pull up the Bo Dallases, the Adrian Nevilles, the Vladimir Rusevs, Alexander Rusev's, I don't know where Vladimir came from, the guys from the Ascension, Corey Graves, I would really like to see in this, just saying. So there's my question for you guys. A lot of this is just going to be mid-carders that don't have anything else to do, but how are they going to fill it out, and how do you think they should fill it out? Should they fill it out with a couple of, pop-in spots from a Legends, or should we give the NXT guys a chance? One thing I will say about this, again, is John Cena looked like a fucking tool trying to mark out or do whatever he did with Hogan on Raw this week. He came out while Hogan was making this announcement. He talked about WrestleMania 3 and how he was a little Hulkster watching WrestleMania 3 and his not quite 24-inch pythons were flailing around the room and all that other bullshit. Talked about what an honor it was to be in the same ring as Hogan. Talked about what an honor it would be to be the first person announced for this Battle Royal. And then went and challenged Bray Wyatt instead. So he came out there to make himself look good, to try and leech some credibility off Hulk Hogan, to try and make himself look like sort of a wrestling savant, and I'm paying so much tribute to the people of the past, and Mr. Hogan, I'm paying you so much tribute, and I'm appreciating your presence, and all this and all that. Stop ringing, I'm doing a video, just saying. Really? Really? Somebody else is going to pick up the phone because I'm not doing it. There we go. He came out, he tried to make himself look like such a great guy, like such a wrestling historian, like a wrestling purist. Oh, this is the most important, honorable thing that WrestleMania has ever had. But, sorry Hogan, I gotta, shoot you down because I have to go bury this guy because he might actually get to be a big star one day and I can't have that happen. John Cena's a tool. Moving on. The rumored Divas Championship match at WrestleMania doesn't even have AJ in it. The rumored Divas Championship match for WrestleMania is Naomi versus Nikki Bella versus Natalya. What do I say? They are clearly more, if this happens, they're clearly more interested in pushing their Divas show that has nothing to do with wrestling than they are with their women's championship at a wrestling event like WrestleMania. Oh yes, you might have shortened wrestling in World Wrestling Entertainment to a W, but the wrestle in WrestleMania is still wrestle. Just saying, this is friggin' sad. Either that, or I can be even more condescending and say that people's connections are paying off. Okay, Naomi doesn't have very many connections. That I can't even talk shit about that. But, I mean, if you're related to a Hart or fucking a Cena, you get a main event slot in your division at WrestleMania. That's sad. The other option, as well, as very many people have pointed out to me very recently, and it should be very obvious, AJ Lee is being punished for dating CM Punk. And CM Punk left the company, and that's just a little sad. Natalia, I don't give a shit about. Naomi, I couldn't be paid to give a shit about. And Nikki Bella does not belong on my television. Moving on. The whole AJ thing is kind of sad, and not that I'm going to sit here and cry the blues for a wrestler who's doing what they want to do, who's fulfilling their dream and all that sort of thing. Apparently, AJ Lee actually had to shut down her Twitter. This is, again, all rumors, but I can kind of see where this would come from, because if you're AJ Lee, you got to deal with the company and you got to deal with the CM Punk fans, because the CM Punk fans and everybody have got to be on her like, hey, use your connections, you're still in the company, go talk to Vince, get Vince to bring CM Punk back, we want CM Punk back, we want CM Punk back. And on the other side of the coin, the company has got to be going to her and saying, hey, we really need CM Punk. CM Punk draws us a lot of attention and a lot of eyes. AJ, go bring your boyfriend back. It's not an enviable spot that she's in. As much as I may or may not be embellishing on the situation, but people want Punk back. The company wants Punk back. The people want the company to take Punk back, and I can see a lot of that falling on her shoulders, and that's just really shitty when she should be focusing on being one of the most awesome Divas champions that the company has ever had. And if she doesn't even get to have a shining moment at WrestleMania because of her boyfriend leaving the company, I'm going to call bullshit, and the other three girls involved in this match should be ashamed of themselves. Oh, yes. Cena versus Wyatt is official now, and, calling it official is like saying, yes, we know this is happening, we know this is happening, we know this is happening, thank you for telling us that we were right, and that this thing is actually happening. Wyatt's promo on Cena and Hogan on Raw was fucking phenomenal. Talking about them being false idols, talking about them being liars, talking about, bringing the era of lies to a close and being the eater of worlds and being the reaper of this old era and all this sort of thing. I can't even try to quote Bray Wyatt, so I won't. But, anybody that hasn't seen it, go back and watch Raw. I can give you a site where you can go back and watch Raw anytime you like. Just ask me down in the comment section below. Cena, on the other hand, is doing exactly what I was afraid he was going to do. He's taking all of Bray Wyatt's awesome, cryptic promo stuff that is symbolic and energetic and intimidating, or it should be, or it's creepy or whatever, and making a joke out of it, telling him he's the guy that spent too much time in Margaritaville, that he got his rocking chair from Cracker Barrel, that he's a hillbilly, that he's a hippie in a Hawaiian shirt, and he's got a bad hat on, and all this sort of thing. Cena, just fuck off. Like, honestly, you're probably pumping yourself up like the best guy in the world. You're probably pumping yourself up like such a fucking charity case right now. Look at this little guy that I'm helping come to WrestleMania. Come under my wing, Mr. Wyatt. I'm gonna bury you, but for right now, I'm gonna make it look like I'm pumping you up. So, just no. Just no. And anybody who's ever questioned why I never, ever want to see Cena versus The Undertaker, it's because of shit like this. Because the kind of promos that Bray Wyatt got... Bray Wyatt, as much as this is going to seem like sacrilege, cuts better promos than The Undertaker these days. I'm sorry, it's just true. Bray Wyatt's promos are the best in the company now that CM Punk is gone. Let's be real. And Cena is taking all the starch out of everything, that all the positive work that Bray Wyatt's putting in. Can you imagine what John Cena and all this bullshit element would do to an Undertaker feud? Let's never, ever find out. I am begging the WWE to never let me find out. I really hope Wyatt... I know the chances of him winning are like ridiculously nil, but I really hope at least Bray Wyatt gets a couple good digs at Cena before Cena gets out of the shovel. Now, Triple H, Daniel Bryan, Randy Orton, Batista, Occupy Raw. Occupy Raw was fantastic. Occupy Raw was a very, very Attitude-esque thing to do. And it got everybody what they wanted. It got me Daniel Bryan versus Triple H, which I've been saying from the beginning should have been enough. It's going to be a great match. Triple H and Daniel Bryan will go to WrestleMania, because it's WrestleMania, and put on a great match. There's no way they're going to bury Daniel Bryan. They did the Sheamus 18-second thing, and they learned their lesson from that. They're not going to do it again. Everybody needs to calm the fuck down. But, because of this, Bryan fans, and I'm talking to all of you, and this goes for everybody. I know my buddy Alex Delexman, who I've worked with several times here on YouTube, is a huge Daniel Bryan fan. But Daniel Bryan fans are fucking hypocrites to the nth degree. Anybody else, and here's where I'm even going to defend Cena a little bit, because even Cena hasn't done anything this bad. Anybody else gets to take up 2 main event spots at WrestleMania. Oh, they're overshot. Oh, why are they being jammed down our throats? Oh, they're stealing somebody else's spot. How selfish can you be? Da-da-da-da-da. He's going to get twice as much of a payday. He's taking money out of somebody else's pocket. But because it's Daniel Bryan, it's somehow okay. If they were going to do this, I would have had no problem with them pumping up a huge, big, extravagant Raw in the middle of March, because there's no March pay-per-view, making it seem like a big deal, having Daniel Bryan face Triple H and say, hey, if I beat you on Raw, you put me in this match at WrestleMania. It wouldn't have made any sense, but I would have at least accepted it. It would not be Daniel Bryan hogging up 2 shares of the spotlight. 2 shares. The main event, okay, he's in the title picture. And I've talked a million times about that upper echelon of wrestlers that are sort of above the title. The Rock, John Cena, Undertaker, Brock Lesnar, some might say Jericho. There's guys that are just bigger than the title. So he gets to beat one of the guys that's above the title and then probably go skip to Maloo right out of WrestleMania with both belts over his shoulder. And you all are going to sit there and fucking jizz yourselves because you guys got your way. Meanwhile, if anybody else in the company got that treatment, God forbid, you know, I'm not allowed to be a fan of The Miz. We've clearly established that, right? God forbid they did something like this with The Miz. Or with Randy Orton. Or with Edge when he was around, or, you know, anybody along the... Even Mr. WrestleMania, Shawn fucking Michaels, never took up 2 main event spots. Now, let me reiterate some of the points that I made last week. We've completely negated the relevance of Elimination Chamber and the Royal Rumble by establishing that just some other guy, by winning 1 match, can be in the title picture. Let's look at this for a second. In theory, and I'm not saying this in fact, but follow me for a second. In theory, Dave Batista won a match with 30 participants in it. So, in the very loose sense, he beat 30 guys. Randy Orton went into a hardcore style match with 6 men and beat 6 men to get this match. Daniel Bryan had his ass handed to him by a mid-card at the Royal Rumble, lost the Elimination Chamber, and is going to be in the same spot as those 2 guys by beating 1 guy. I'm just saying. I don't like it, because the way WWE does underdog stories, you know that Daniel Bryan's going to win. Which means 2... Okay, now if you want to throw in the Undertaker match... along with this as well, that means 3 of your main events at WrestleMania are predictable as fuck. Now, what that also means is you guys are all telling me that Daniel Bryan is so fucking great and wonderful and nothing can survive without him, that he deserves to bury 3 Hall of Famers. Now, you're not going to like me saying that, but Triple H is going into the Hall of Fame for sure. Deal with it. Randy Orton might. The entire faction of Evolution is going into the Hall of Fame one day. Accept it. Triple H is going to be a two-time Hall of Famer like Ric Flair is, and for the same reason. So what you're telling me is between those three guys, you potentially have 4 Hall of Fame rings, and Daniel Bryan gets to wipe his ass with all of them. That is fucking ridiculous. Oh, yes. Is it going to be a great match with Triple H? Absolutely. I'm not negating that whatsoever. Is Daniel Bryan going to go into the triple threat match? Yes. Because if he's in there against Triple H, he's going to win. Like, it's going to be a thing. Daniel Bryan is going to John Cena over Triple H. And then he's going to John Cena over Randy Orton and Batista. Yeah, you don't want me to say that right now, but right now, guys, look. Your guy is burying 3 future Hall of Famers. Cena has a match at WrestleMania with a new 2-year mid-carder in Bray Wyatt. And I'm not shitting on Bray Wyatt, but let's look at that for a second. Your boy, right now, is worse than John Cena. Oh yes. Think about it. Now, Taker Brock. You might notice I haven't spoken very much about Taker Brock, because there hasn't really been much to say other than him stabbing Brock Lesnar in the hand when they signed the contract. Taker came out this week, and Heyman came out, did a fantastic promo trying to convince him not to come to the match at WrestleMania against Brock Lesnar. Gave him all the credit in the world. It's like, hey, here's these guys that could never do 2 wins in a row at WrestleMania. Here's some people that didn't do 3. These people couldn't string together 3 or 4 matches. You've done 21. It would be a real shame if that were to come to an end. You know, I respect the streak, and because I respect the streak, I am begging you, Mr. I love when Paul Heyman calls Undertaker Mr. Undertaker. It's just like, would it be Mr. Taker? Would it be, do his friends just call him Under? Like, is this a thing? I don't know. But because I respect the streak so much, sir, and as Brock Lesnar's advocate, I am begging you not to show up at WrestleMania. And Undertaker basically did some dead man talk that really didn't amount to much, which is surprising coming from The Undertaker. But there was a lot of, symbolism and darkness, and it's what The Undertaker does. But nothing really has developed other than the fact that they're going to face each other at WrestleMania. So hopefully that will be building into something more. Hopefully they're going to include at some point the interaction that they had at that UFC show a couple of years ago that got all kinds of publicity. I think that would be cool, break down the fourth wall, have a touch of realism in an Undertaker match, which is mostly just, character and demon entity and shit like that. Bring some real everyday life into it. I think it could spice up the match a little bit. They're not going that way just yet, and it'll be interesting to see where it goes. Now, I just want to send a little shout out once again to my buddy James. Again, Fear the Spear 1990, go check him out. He and his girlfriend and a bunch of other people have been all over my group, The Wrestling Realm, which is almost up to 300 people, which is great. You guys are all fantastic. Any of you that are watching me through the group right now, you guys are all awesome. I am very privileged to be a part of that group, and it's a lot of fun. And if we hit 300 before WrestleMania, that will be fantastic as well. But a lot of them, especially ever since Cena has been posing like a goofball on Raw with Hogan and whatever, WrestleMania 31, we have to have Cena versus Hogan. And I said it there, and I'll say it here. Do you want a spoiler for Cena versus Hogan? Why are you beeping at me? I'm trying to do a video just saying. Do you want a spoiler for Cena versus Hogan? Here it is. Neither one of them falls down forever. John Cena slips on a banana peel. Hogan drops the leg. Breaks his back. Cena no-sells the leg drop. Gets him in a quick roll-up. And steamrolls Hulkamania. Now, think about it for a second. Is that really what you want? Really? It will be almost as tragic as Cena steamrolling the streak. And we don't want to see that, do we? No. Just saying. Anyways, that's all I've got to say about WrestleMania right now. I'm not as hot to trot on the Daniel Bryan thing as most people are, but I'm excited about a lot of other things. The Battle Royal is coming. The Taker Lesnar is going to be good. Bray Wyatt versus Cena, I really hope is a big moment for Bray Wyatt, but again, I really can't wait for them to break up the Shield and see where that goes. Everybody is saying triple threat for the US title. I still say triple threat ladder match for the US title. We're not going to have Money in the Bank this year. We've got to stick a ladder in there somewhere, guys. And Seth Rollins on a ladder is the next best thing to Jeff Hardy in my books. Anyways, I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. What are you most excited about for WrestleMania? What do you think about the matches that I've talked about in this video? Keep the conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.
You're a freak like